John Deere's Ottumwa facility will be closed for about a month as the company reevaluates customer demand.
Donald Trump has never been one to shy away from stirring controversy, and his latest declaration is no exception. At a highly charged rally, he threatened to impose a staggering 200% tariff on John Deere products, a move aimed squarely at preventing the iconic agricultural equipment manufacturer from relocating production overseas. This bold pronouncement has set off a firestorm of debate that goes well beyond the simple question of tariffs. It challenges us to consider what it means to be made in America and forces a confrontation with the realities of globalization in an era of soaring labor costs and relentless market pressures. For decades, John Deere has stood as a pillar of American ingenuity. Its unmistakable green and yellow machines have not only tilled the soil of the heartland, but have also come to symbolize hard work, reliability, and a deep-rooted connection to the land. Yet now, under the dual pressure of rising production costs in the United States and fierce global competition, the company is weighing a drastic shift, moving key production lines to Mexico, where labor is cheaper and operational costs are lower. In response, Trump's ultimatum is designed to send a clear message: keep jobs on U.S. soil, or face punitive tariffs that would upend the entire agricultural supply chain. This saga is not just about one company or one political figure. It is a microcosm of the larger debate over economic nationalism versus global efficiency, a clash that pits patriotic sentiment against the inescapable logic of the global marketplace. In the following sections, we'll explore the historical context of Trump's tariff strategy, delve into John Deere's storied legacy, analyze the potential consequences for American communities and farmers, and consider the broader implications for the nation's manufacturing future. Trump's tariff history: weapon or worry? Trump's penchant for using tariffs as a tool of economic warfare is well documented. During his presidency, he famously unleashed tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a host of other imports, all in an effort to protect American industries. His arguments were simple: by making foreign goods more expensive, domestic companies would be forced to keep production at home, thereby preserving American jobs. Yet time and again, critics have pointed out that while tariffs can provide short-term relief for some industries, they often come at the cost of higher consumer prices, strained international relationships, and even retaliatory measures that hurt American exports. When Trump now targets John Deere, a company valued at over $124 billion, with a proposed 200% tariff, he is not just continuing a familiar policy. He is attempting to make a dramatic statement against a backdrop of mounting anxiety over job outsourcing. His supporters see this as a necessary defense of American manufacturing, a stand against the tide of globalization that has, in many quarters, decimated local economies. On the other hand, many economists warn that such heavy-handed measures could easily trigger a trade war, ultimately hurting the very workers Trump aims to protect. By invoking his signature approach, Trump is signaling that this is not simply a business decision on John Deere's part. It is a matter of national pride and economic survival. The stakes, as he paints them, are nothing less than the future of American manufacturing itself. The legacy of John Deere: more than just machines. Long before tariffs and trade wars entered the picture, John Deere was synonymous with American progress. Founded in the 19th century by a blacksmith whose invention revolutionized farming, the company quickly grew into a global symbol of quality and reliability. For countless generations of farmers, a John Deere tractor is not merely a tool. It's a trusted companion that has helped nurture the land and feed the nation. Across rural America, the brand is steeped in tradition. Farmers proudly display John Deere decals on their trucks. Families share stories of working on farms powered by Deere machinery. Entire communities have built their economies around the factories that churn out these robust machines. This cultural bond is palpable. To many, John Deere embodies the very spirit of American resilience and ingenuity. However, this legacy now faces an unprecedented challenge. The company is caught in a quandary. On one side is the relentless pressure to cut costs and stay competitive in a global market. On the other, the deep-seated expectations of a loyal customer base that sees American-made as a badge of honor. When Trump announces his tariff threat, it isn't merely an economic policy. It is perceived as an attack on the very identity that John Deere has built over more than a century. The production dilemma: relocating or reinventing. At the heart of the current controversy is John Deere's consideration to move certain production lines to Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. The company cites several practical reasons for this move: escalating labor costs in the United States, the need to streamline supply chains, and the desire to remain competitive against global rivals who can produce similar machinery at a fraction of the cost. For company executives, the decision is one born out of economic necessity. Modern manufacturing demands constant adaptation, and relocating production is seen as a logical step to reduce overhead and boost efficiency. Yet for the communities that have built their lives around John Deere factories, this shift represents a painful departure from a cherished tradition. Imagine a small Midwestern town where the local John Deere plant isn't just a workplace, it is the community's heartbeat. Local diners, schools, and retail shops all rely on the steady stream of income generated by the plant. A decision to move production overseas would not only lead to job losses, it would also unravel the social fabric of the community, leaving behind economic uncertainty and a legacy of hardship. Trump's 200% tariff threat is aimed precisely at forcing John Deere to reconsider this move. By making the cost of imported machinery prohibitively expensive, he hopes to tip the balance in favor of keeping production domestic. Yet even as this political drama unfolds, the company is caught between two worlds: the pragmatic demands of global markets and the emotional ties of local loyalty. The economic impact of a 200% tariff. A 200% tariff is not just a number. It's an economic leviathan that could transform the landscape of American agriculture. Such a tariff would effectively triple the cost of any John Deere equipment manufactured outside the United States, making it nearly impossible for many farmers to afford. The repercussions would ripple through the supply chain, affecting everything from small family farms to massive industrial operations. For farmers, purchasing new machinery is a critical, carefully planned investment. They budget for these expenses months in advance, factoring in everything from anticipated crop yields to fluctuating commodity prices. A sudden spike in equipment costs brought on by a punitive tariff could force many to postpone or cancel much-needed upgrades. The result? Reduced efficiency, lower crop yields, and a deep-seated uncertainty about the future. Moreover, if John Deere decides to absorb the cost of the tariff rather than passing it on to consumers, the company's profitability would take a severe hit. Lower profit margins might force executives to cut back on research and development, jeopardizing the very innovations that have made John Deere a market leader for generations. In either scenario, the end result is a stark reminder that there are no easy answers when balancing national pride against global market realities. Critics of Trump's tariff proposal argue that such drastic measures could backfire. History has shown that tariffs, especially at such an extreme level, can provoke retaliatory actions from other nations. Mexico, for example, might respond by imposing its own tariffs on American agricultural products, leading to a tit-for-tat trade war that would further destabilize the delicate equilibrium of international trade. The fear is that a single policy could set off a chain reaction, ultimately hurting American farmers even more than the original offshoring of production. The human toll, communities on the edge. For many small towns, John Deere isn't just a company, it's the economic backbone of an entire community. In towns like Dubuque, Iowa, or Waterloo, Iowa, the John Deere plant is where generations have built their livelihoods. The local factory is intertwined with the town's identity, supporting local businesses, funding schools, and providing a sense of stability that is hard to come by in today's uncertain economy. The prospect of relocating production overseas sends shockwaves through these communities. For the workers, it means the potential loss of a lifelong career. For local businesses, it means a sudden drop in customer spending, as families who once earned steady wages are forced to confront unemployment. And for entire regions, it risks shattering the delicate economic balance that has sustained them for decades. Local leaders are now faced with an almost impossible challenge: how to preserve an economic ecosystem that has been built around a single, iconic employer. Proposals have ranged from tax incentives and workforce retraining programs to even appeals for federal intervention. Yet none of these measures can fully compensate for the immediate impact of job losses and the emotional toll of watching a cherished institution potentially move beyond reach. The human cost of this economic tug-of-war is perhaps the most compelling aspect of the story. It's a reminder that behind every tariff debate and corporate decision lie real people with real families, whose futures are being shaped by decisions made in boardrooms and political rallies. In this context, Trump's tariff threat becomes not just a policy debate, but a deeply personal issue for those who have placed their hopes and dreams in the promise of American manufacturing. Farmers, the unsung heroes, facing uncertain futures. At the heart of American agriculture are the farmers, resilient individuals who face nature's unpredictability every season while grappling with market fluctuations and rising costs. For these men and women, the potential consequences of a 200% tariff are deeply personal. The cost of new equipment is not merely an abstract figure. It represents the difference between a bountiful harvest and a year of financial strain. Farmers have long relied on John Deere equipment to optimize their operations, from planting to harvesting. The machines are more than just tools. They are investments in the future. When the price of these machines is suddenly increased by tariffs, farmers are forced into an agonizing decision: absorb the extra cost, delay essential upgrades, or risk switching to an entirely new brand. Each option carries its own set of challenges and uncertainties. Moreover, the specter of retaliatory tariffs looms large. In previous trade disputes, nations such as China and Mexico have imposed tariffs on American agricultural exports, directly impacting farmers' ability to sell their products on the global market. For many farmers, the prospect of another trade war is particularly worrisome. A decline in exports could lead to lower prices for crops, further squeezing profit margins that are already razor-thin. In an industry where every dollar counts, the ripple effects of these economic policies could prove devastating. In local communities, the anxiety is palpable. Farmers are not only worried about their own livelihoods, they are also concerned about the ripple effects that might hit their local economies. A decline in farming profitability can affect everything from rural banks to supply stores, and even the local schools that depend on community taxes. The pressure is mounting, and every new piece of news about tariffs or production shifts only deepens the uncertainty that hangs over America's breadbasket. Globalization versus national pride, a crossroads for manufacturing. The debate over John Deere's production strategy is emblematic of a larger struggle that has defined global manufacturing for decades. On one hand, the forces of globalization offer companies the promise of lower labor costs, more efficient supply chains, and access to burgeoning markets around the world. On the other, there is a strong and enduring sentiment that what is American should remain on American soil, a sentiment deeply embedded in the national psyche. For many in the business world, relocating production to countries like Mexico is a pragmatic decision. Lower wages and streamlined logistics can make the difference between profit and loss in today's competitive market. However, for workers and communities that have built their identities around domestic production, such moves are seen as betrayals. The emotional weight of a decision to outsource manufacturing is enormous. It is not just about dollars and cents. It is about identity, pride, and a legacy that spans generations. Trump's tariff proposal is a direct attempt to force companies like John Deere into a corner, to make the cost of outsourcing so prohibitive that they are compelled to maintain operations in the United States. Yet even as this policy is debated in political circles, the underlying economic forces remain unchanged. Companies must contend with rising domestic costs, increased regulatory burdens, and a competitive global market that rewards efficiency above all else. The challenge, then, is to find a balance, one that preserves American jobs and cultural heritage while acknowledging the economic imperatives of a globalized world. Political backlash and the battle of public opinion. Whenever Trump steps into the arena of economic policy, the reaction is swift and polarized. The tariff threat against John Deere has ignited fierce debate among politicians, trade experts, and the general public. In many congressional districts, particularly in regions that have long depended on manufacturing, Trump's hardline stance is seen as a rallying cry, a promise to defend the American worker against the relentless tide of globalization. At the same time, free market advocates and some traditional conservatives warn that heavy tariffs risk sparking a chain reaction of retaliatory measures that could ultimately harm American businesses and consumers. Social media platforms have become battlegrounds for these competing narratives. Proponents of the tariff argue passionately for a return to American-first policies, citing job losses and community decay as evidence that previous offshoring decisions have left too many families vulnerable. Opponents counter that tariffs are a blunt instrument that do little more than drive up prices and create uncertainty in an already volatile global market. Trade experts point out that while tariffs might provide temporary relief, they often come at the cost of long-term economic stability, a lesson learned from past trade disputes. In this polarized environment, public opinion is split. Many Americans express a deep emotional connection to the idea of made in America, equating it with quality and reliability. Yet there is also a growing awareness that the realities of modern production sometimes demand difficult choices. The debate over John Deere is not merely academic. It is a living, breathing conflict that touches every aspect of the economy, from the local diner to the global trading floor. Looking ahead, uncertain roads and the future of American manufacturing. As the standoff between Trump's tariff threat and John Deere's production plans continues to unfold, no clear resolution is in sight. The company remains caught between two imperatives: the need to reduce production costs in an increasingly competitive global market, and the desire to uphold its storied tradition as an American icon. Meanwhile, Trump's rhetoric shows no signs of softening, and the political climate remains charged with the promise of more battles over trade and manufacturing. Several potential outcomes loom large. In one scenario, the cost of the 200% tariff proves so prohibitive that John Deere is forced to abandon its relocation plans altogether, opting instead to invest in domestic improvements or negotiate federal incentives to keep jobs on American soil. Such a decision would be seen as a victory for economic nationalism, at least in the short term, and might provide a temporary boost to communities that have long relied on the company's presence. Alternatively, John Deere might press ahead with a partial or full relocation, betting that the long-term savings from lower production costs will outweigh the immediate backlash and tariff penalties. In this case, the company would face a delicate balancing act, maintaining its American brand identity while shifting key operations abroad, all under the constant threat of further political and economic turbulence. A third, more unsettling possibility is the onset of a broader trade war. If retaliatory tariffs are imposed by Mexico or other trading partners, American agricultural products could find themselves caught in a tit-for-tat battle that undermines export markets and deepens the economic divide. Such an escalation would not only destabilize John Deere's supply chain, but could also send shockwaves through the entire agricultural sector, affecting everything from crop prices to rural employment. No matter which path is ultimately chosen, the stakes are incredibly high. At its core, this conflict is more than a corporate or political squabble. It is a reflection of the fundamental challenges facing American manufacturing in an era defined by rapid globalization and shifting economic paradigms. The choices made in the coming months will reverberate far beyond the fields of the heartland, shaping the future of jobs, communities, and the national identity that has long been intertwined with the idea of Made in America. Conclusion: a crossroads of identity, economics, and the future. Donald Trump's threat of a 200% tariff on John Deere has sparked a larger debate about the future of American manufacturing, corporate responsibility, and what American-made really means. John Deere, a company trusted by farmers for generations, now stands at a crossroads. Will it stick to its American roots despite higher costs, or will it move production overseas to keep profits up, even if it costs local jobs and community stability? For American workers, farmers, and small-town communities, the outcome is personal. It's a question of economic survival, whether we can keep national pride and domestic production alive while facing global market pressures. The decisions made in boardrooms, congressional halls, and local diners today will affect generations to come. So, where do we stand? Should we hold on to the ideal of American-made at all costs, or must we adjust to a changing global economy? The answer may lie in finding a balance between economic efficiency and the well-being of our communities and our heritage of innovation. In the coming months, as trade negotiations and policies evolve, all eyes will be on John Deere. The choices made in this high-stakes situation could set the course for the future of American manufacturing. The debate is still open, and the path ahead remains uncertain. One thing is clear: the impact of Trump's tariff threat and John Deere's production decision will be felt across America's fields, factories, and communities. Thank you for joining us as we explore this story, a story about American identity, the economy, and the future of work. Please share your thoughts and join the conversation. The decisions we make today will shape our tomorrow. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on the critical issues that define our world.